Hi, good to see you. The billionaire invited the impoverished woman to his lavish dinner so he could humiliate her, but when she arrived, the woman shocked everyone. Daniela was roused from her slumber by the first beam of sunlight that peered into the modest, unadorned home in Mexico City. As they lay in bed together, she slowly stretched, attempting to refuel for another day. Her son John, who was 1 year old at the time, was peacefully napping, providing a serene contrast to the impending mayhem outside. Suddenly, Daniela sprang to her feet. Gently, being careful not to wake him, Daniela made her way to the kitchen to begin the morning rituals she had lovingly planned. As she entered, the air was filled with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee, which promised a temporary reprieve from the chilly morning. Just as she was about to turn to face John, she heard his drowsy footsteps and smiled. "Embrace him tightly. Good morning, my darling. I hope you had a good night's sleep," she whispered as she brought the lovingly prepared meal of toasted bread with butter and freshly brewed coffee. John grinned at his mom as he sat up, rubbed his eyes. "Get some rest, Mom. Good morning. Is everything well with you today?" Even at such a young age, his care and innocence for Daniela shone through. Being responsible and courteous to others was something she had always drilled into him. "Ugh," Daniel moaned, just a little bit before responding, maintaining an upbeat tone to reassure the youngster. "No problem at all, John. I intend to start my job search today. Is there anything you can think of that will help us feel more secure while you're in school? I plan to drop by a few locations to check whether something is within my reach. Rest assured, my darling. No need to worry." With a tender touch, she stroked his hair and spoke. John beheld his mother's loving and admiring eyes. "I have a good idea of what you're looking for. You are the most amazing and powerful person I've ever met, Mom," he assured Daniela. "I'll be at school cheering you on," with an unfaltering faith that comforted her and set her up for another challenging day without a job. Daniela aided John in getting ready for school after he finished breakfast, checking that he was well prepared and that he hadn't forgotten anything. "Stay warm on that chilly day that was waiting for you outdoors. After school, make sure to get on the correct bus and head straight home. Your mom will be waiting." "Good luck, Mom. I'll remember everything," Daniela told him as she led him to the door. "I adore you to pieces, and I know that you will succeed in the job search." John kissed her on the cheek and dashed to the bus stop, ready to start another day at public school. Daniela observed John from her position at the door for a while. As she walked away, a mix of pride and fear washed over her. Her heart ached at the thought of being the child's sole provider, but John's resolve encouraged her to keep going, no matter how tough things became. With what little she had, she got herself dressed neatly and simply, ready to face the day and any job prospects that may come her way, and then she left. After adjusting her hair into a high bun, Daniela took a final glance at herself in the shattered mirror in the hallway. Closing the door behind him, he felt a surge of hope as he stepped out of the home, taking a deep breath. He was prepared for a long day of knocking on doors and, perhaps, facing rejection. However, he would draw strength from John's example, his smile, and his encouraging words. Daniela whispered that they irritated her because of him. When she left her home, she tackled whatever challenges came her way. Going down her usual route, Daniela made her way to the neighborhood market to spend her cash. The scent of new morning dew lingered in the air, and the streets of. As I walked, I went over the list of necessities I needed to get, and I could feel the fast-paced energy of Mexico City. Feeling the weight of the coins in her pocket, each one counted and designated for a specific reason, I planned to use the little money I had to buy rice, maybe some veggies, and, if the price is good, a tiny chicken. When Daniela reached the market, she wasted no time making her way to the booths selling the items she knew would be the most affordable. Natural talent, she painstakingly selected each item, mentally tallying the cost, and making adjustments to her decision to accommodate the limited budget. Although the queue at the register was short, Daniela, who was anxious to finish her purchase and get on with her job hunt, seemed as though it went on forever. At that moment, Daniela's eyes widened as a man called Alejandro, clad in a sharp suit that stood in stark contrast to her own casual attire, came charging forward in line, lugging additional belongings. "Please, come forward. You have far less than me," he said in an admirable way. Smiling broadly, He invited everyone to come forward, clearly taken aback by the generosity. After expressing her gratitude, Daniela continued to place her items at the counter for the cashier to scan while she felt a mix of relief and unease at the stark contrast between their circumstances. As the total value eventually increased, his heart raced a little quicker. Upon approaching the register, the man said, "The benefit, esteemed lady, the sum total of your purchases is as follows. Could you please let me know how you intend to pay?" Daniel instantly froze as he realized he had messed up his calculations. The value was slightly higher than he had anticipated, therefore I couldn't pay. "There must be a mistake," she replied, her voice filled with composure as she mentally reviewed the shopping list. "Before I came, I counted the money I had." Her voice continued, conveying the internal conflict she was experiencing. It ought to be sufficient. As her prospect for finding a misplaced coin dwindled, she started to rummage through her pockets. As more people started to queue up behind her and the line stretched again, the cashier anticipated a mixture of sympathetic and more irritated expressions. Jose A. He looked on with a puzzled expression. He didn't seem very sympathetic, but he was clearly taken aback by the precarious position in which Daniela was in. The fact that she is without. "I'll have to explain the coins again, young man, because the money needed to cover these few purchases is so little." For a moment, the bustling market fell silent, focusing on this financial stalemate that, although insignificant to some, posed a significant challenge to Daniela on this already difficult day. The weight of the stairs crushed her, making an already bad position much worse. This was one of those times when Daniela wished she could just vanish, or, failing that, discover a miraculous remedy for her predicament. After delicately placing the pennies on the counter, Daniela's hand quivered slightly as she counted them. Her hope dwindled with each penny until the inevitable truth hit her. There wasn't enough money. The subsequent silence was shattered. The only audible sign of their vulnerable position was the sound of the coins striking one another. As the line continued to grow, the cashier, in an effort to keep things running smoothly, hurled Daniela a expression of understanding that I couldn't do anything to improve the situation. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I just don't have the funds to let you handle these things," he stated with a hint of contrite resolve. In preparation for taking them off the counter, he started sorting the items. He rushed to explain, his voice clogged with shame and desperation, while Daniela felt her cheeks burn from the other customers' inquisitive gaze. "My apologies. I was under the impression that my counting was accurate. I am actively seeking employment today, and this was for..." Alejandro, who had been watching the situation with a mix of curiosity and surprise up until that point, stepped in. "I'm going to pay for your purchases," he announced without leaving any room for rejection. The cashier looked at him surprised but swiftly proceeded with the payment. Daniela attempted to protest, but the man's fixed gaze and immovable decision left no space for her. "You don't have to thank me. I just wanted to show you how much I care," he smiled and stated. Mystery solver. After the cashier completed the transaction, the man approached Daniela and struck up a casual conversation. He asked, "You've been having a hard time finding a job that fits your skills?" with an interest that went beyond simple politeness. "Because it has been challenging, and there are many." Daniela hesitated before responding yes, still taken aback by the unexpected gift. As the conversation continued, the father in the suit's voice became more determined, showing that he was trying to help his son out. He said, "It appears that the opportunities are few, especially for someone without any academic training like me." With each passing word, a scheme took form in his thoughts, and he recalled the invitation to the lavish party, where he would meet other owners. He listened intently, his curiosity growing as the conversation progressed. As he wondered how Daniela would react in a setting so unlike the market they were discovered in, he couldn't help but chuckle to himself. In his mind, he quietly wondered what it would be like to live above your level, surrounded by smart and accomplished individuals. "Something is already in my plans." Even when the clerk was distributing his own products, he resumed talking to Daniela. "An upcoming event is something in which I shall be taking part. A number of individuals will be brought together for this celebration." She casually suggested the idea, claiming that it may be a fantastic chance for you, speaking to influential people, many of whom were business owners. Unsure of what to do, Daniela shook her head in amazement at the offer. I am uncertain about my potential performance there. Such an occasion is foreign to me. And he would likely say or do something that would make everyone make fun of me. Given his lack of market experience and limited skill set, he addressed Mr. Alejandro's and everyone else's concerns about his suit. Extremely costly, here you go. It will be this Saturday night. Think of it as an opportunity, not just a social event. By the way, my name is Alejandro Diaz, he said, his interest in the situation growing. I think you might be surprised. Consider this an extension of my gesture today. Who knows what could happen? With that, he pulled out an elegant invitation from his suit pocket and extended it towards Daniela. As Daniela examined the invitation, she saw how the elegant paper stood in stark contrast to the chaotic environment surrounding her. I'm uncertain about what to say. This sounds too good to be true, yet it could be the perfect opportunity for me. I hold the envelope with a mix of interest and skepticism, not sure what to make of it. His low voice, he confessed, reflected with a smile that seemed simultaneously encouraging and mysterious. The man conveyed a whirlwind of emotions. Sometimes it pays to venture into uncharted territory. You never know when you could stumble upon the perfect opportunity. They won't make fun of you or laugh at you, so there's no need to stress over what to wear. Although Alejandro's words brought solace, his thoughts contradicted them. He had a different plan. It had an evil intent. He was looking for someone to tease and mock, and be the most talked-about guest at the celebration. His comments lingered in Daniela's mind. She was both interested and terrified by the prospect of being in a world so drastically different from her own. At long last, she spoke about a courageous choice. Without thinking things out, since I am sure I will thank you for everything you accomplished today. We will likely cross paths again if I do in fact attend the party. In that case, feel free to give me a call. Dear Daniela, feeling content with his brilliant choice, Alejandro nodded. Dear Daniela, as he quietly bid Daniela farewell, he gathered his already packed belongings and departed, leaving her to ponder the invitation and her thoughts on the evening ahead. Daniela cautiously made her way towards. On the way out of the market, the invitation felt like a promise and a burden at the same time. In addition to saving his current predicament, Alejandro's unanticipated kindness had also introduced him to something entirely foreign to his usual routine. I will be prepared. In the midst of her racing heart from fear and uncertainty, Daniela wondered why the streets of Mexico City, scorched by the sun's apogee, appeared different this time. Held in her pocket is an invitation to a lavish celebration, but in her mind resides the recollection of a stranger's kindness. It had been a long time since Daniela had any optimism about the future, but today she decided she would not seek employment since she had a fantastic opportunity that she needed to seize, for herself and most importantly, for the sake of her son's safe return home. As soon as Daniela had a chance to compose herself, the sound of the school bus mixed with John's hasty footsteps. When the door opened and John stepped inside, her mother's face lighted up with joy. John's eyes met hers, and a huge smile spread across her face. Her mom ran over to give John a tight embrace, and the embrace was filled with love and comfort. Somewhere Daniela may escape her concerns. Have you forgotten how much I loved school? Asking John to follow her into the kitchen, Daniela started to whip up lunch using the supplies she had gotten with the help of Alejandro the butcher. Though she was still thinking a lot about the offer, the mundane task of cooking helped her distract herself. During the mini breaks, I played a lot with my pals and learned a lot of new things. Even my math teacher stated I'm going to be really noticeable this year and congratulated me on my grade. By the way, your mom found a job. With an innocent look of wonder in his eyes, John inquired. Daniela recounted the events of the day with a gentle expression on her face, sighing, well, I didn't find a job, but something quite surprising transpired. She began to have her doubts. Next, she filled John in on the details of her encounter with the market vendor. I will now go on to discussing the invitation to the posh party and how she had paid for her goods. Her statements conveyed a sense of uncertainty on the decision to depart. This prompted John to respond with, quick and brimming with energy, excuse me, Mom, but I think you should go meet this man. He looks really kind and wants to help others in need. Please don't leave him waiting. He's excited about the chance to. Exciting journey. Daniela let herself grin, even though her mother had experienced it. She was encouraged by John's reply. She voiced her ideas aloud, her uncertainty beginning to fade in the presence of her son's unwavering support. You really think I should go, son? I'm not sure I have something appropriate to wear. The garments were showing their age, and the opulent setting seemed mismatched. Rising from the table, John drew Daniela into his little room, his determination radiating like a child's. Take a look at what you've got. My mother. I'm sure there's something perfect waiting for you inside the closet, he stated with an air of conviction. They went through Daniela's tiny closet together, critiquing every garment. Optimistic as it may have been, they settled on a dress that Daniela seldom got to wear. A simple yet exquisite number. Chance to wear this, Mom. You'll look great, John spoke with absolute certainty. As the sun went down and the city grew dark, Daniela, who had the party invitation in her palm, let herself be carried away by an ocean of possibilities. Slumber, with a little sheet of paper delicately pressed between her digits to her. It appeared to be a doorway to a fantastical realm where dreams and reality could merge in ways she could never have dreamed. Feeling a blend of anticipation and anxiety, she pondered, what if I actually go? That is my son's belief, and I share his optimism that things will change tonight. With the passage of time, the celebration day finally arrived. Daniela was overcome with an overwhelming wave of emotions and expectations as the sky subtly transformed into an orange hue that, as the sun was setting, she stood in front of the mirror, putting on the selected. Put on her clothes once more, a plain model that held the secret desire for a makeover in the mirror. Daniela made an earnest attempt to inculcate a healthy dose of self-esteem in herself. She assured herself, watching the cloth fall over her body, that she would make it, that she would go to that location, and that everyone would like her. A sentiment as alien to her as the party she was about to attend. My nervousness was starting to take over, but now that I'm better prepared, I can handle any situation that comes my way, including a lavish Lou party. If someone doesn't like me, it's their problem, not mine. I just need to be myself, and everything will be great. John had been his rock amid an ocean of doubts, but now that the party was almost here, the weight of responsibility and expectation was beginning to settle into his shoulders. With a final look in John's direction, he turned to him and said, Now I'm going to the party. Bursting with feeling no need to fret. I will be all right. Take care, my dear. John, whose age belies his apparent wisdom, gave her a bare hug and told her, You're going to shine, Mom. I know it. The unfaltering faith that shone in his eyes was the kind of faith that knew no bounds. It saw Daniela's modest dress not as a weakness but as a representation of her strength and determination. Daniela's heart was warmed by John's words, and she paused at the front door to take a deep breath. Taking a deep breath, she mustered her strength. Can you do this? She whispered to herself, hoping to dispel any remaining doubts. You deserve to be at that party as much as anyone. You are a guest. Hailing a taxi with the few remaining changes, Daniela stepped out of her daily life and toward a night that she hoped would signal the beginning of a new chapter in her life in the building. Alejandro strode confidently through the opulent room, greeting the doorman with the expression of someone accustomed to being obedient, having come before her and exuding an aura of superiority. Sparing no effort, he cut to the chase. He started, his voice commanding attention. The answer is yes. A special guest this evening who stands out from the usual crowd being used to the demands of wealthy businessmen like Alejandro. The doorman anticipated the person whose name is on the order is Daniela. Ramirez proceeded to speak to Alejandro while his face contorted into a menacing grin. You can tell by the look on her face that she is a poor woman who struggles to make ends meet. Her reddish hair and overall appearance are telltale signs that she does not belong here. Despite Daniela's disdainful portrayal, she was allowed entry since it served to show that she was unworthy of the opulence in her surroundings. The way that person acts at a gathering like ours will be fascinating to watch, he said, laughing. With a cold tone, Alejandro made it plain that he didn't see Daniela as an esteemed guest but as a tool in his power and shame game. As the taxi whisked her through Mexico City, the lights of night fell, and Daniela let herself fantasize about what the evening might bring. Despite her fears and anxieties, a spark of excitement was kindling, and she hoped that someone would find it intriguing. Could you kindly then I could get a job and go? Maybe even a third companion. Daniela felt a surge of anxiety wash over her as she pulled up to the party venue, a massive structure that radiates money and power. Before the massive gate, the cab came to a halt, and Ella, upon exiting, she gazed up in admiration at the colossal structure that reached towards the stars. The woman muttered under her breath, "So this is it," as she gathered her belongings and made her way to the entrance. The doorman stood at attention, his uniform displaying an unwavering professionalism. In anticipation of the young woman's arrival, I waited. She proposed something that first worried her when they would soon meet. "Daniela, you must be Mr. Alejandro's visitor, correct?" His tone was authoritative while still displaying respect as he inquired. The remarks said by the doorman, who had almost correctly identified her, caught Daniela off guard. "Oh my goodness, I would want to know how Daniela Ramirez came to be discovered." She asked, "What is my name?" in a quavering voice that revealed the shape of her fear as the doorman sought advice from the. She welcomed Mrs. Ramirez by checking Daniela's name on her clipboard and nodding slightly. "Please come up, the party will be." Mr. Alejandro had previously warned me that he should let her in if he found someone with her qualities. He also informed me of her name. He pointed to the ornately decorated elevator and added, "It's taking place in the main hall." She climbed up the elevator, her mind still reeling from the incident with the doorman. Due to her overwhelming range of feelings, Daniela was attempting to find some peace. As she stepped out of the elevator, taken aback by her own boldness, she was greeted by the refined ambience of the room, where gentle music provided a warm backdrop for animated discussions. Nobody missed Daniela's arrival. A number of eyes shifted to her. Anxieties from the weight of each glance from the other evaluators made her feel even worse. She couldn't help but wonder what on earth someone with her background was doing here. Daniela turned around, but she was adamant about not letting her anxiety get the best of her. With all the self-assurance she could muster, she made her way to the bar, where she placed her order while looking around the room for Alejandro, in the hopes that a drink would help ease her nerves. The mysterious man who had set in motion this delicate chain reaction involving her was conspicuously missing, casting an ominous shadow over the celebration without. "Arrive at your location, Alejandro? Furthermore, I'm wondering why you extended an invitation to I ignoring Alejandro's absence." Daniela sipped her drink and made her way around the room, taking note of the groups of people talking, the beautiful clothes they were wearing, and the expressions on their faces. "Perhaps he can find a place here. I find these people fascinating, and I would love to strike up a conversation with some of them." With them in mind, Daniela allowed herself a glimmer of hope, and gradually she came to understand that, despite the ostentatious exteriors, the conversations around her had an authentic quality. People joked and told tales, and she was able to temporarily set aside her fears. Everybody is here looking for a way to connect, to discover something they have in common, maybe even something similar. With this new perspective, she felt a little more at ease, she reflected. Without wanting to spend the night in her own shadow, Daniela made the decision to go elsewhere. Excitement. I intend to pose a query to someone soon. Join the cause. For most, it was just a baby step, but for Daniela, it marked the start of a night that would be filled with adventures and, who knows, maybe even new beginnings. I could feel her racing heart, filled with a mixture of anxiety and anticipation, accompanied with a beverage as Daniela made her way around the room, still trying to find her spot amidst the chatter and laughing that pervaded the air. She made the decision that, even if she was anxious at first, she would overcome her fears. Standing alone in front of one of the living room's artworks, she caught sight of a woman at that very time. Apologies for interrupting, but Daniela, energized by her own decision to join in, came over to me. However, I must say, this painting is absolutely captivating. Even though Daniela didn't fully get paintings, she knew that a statement appreciating an artwork may spark a meaningful discourse, so she did just that. As the woman shifted her attention to her, a warm smile spread across her face. "Among these characters, she is definitely a favorite of mine." The woman who would later be identified as Roberta Viller mentioned that Daniela had good eyes. "It is I, Roberta. The pleasure of meeting you is mine." Feeling an instant connection, Daniela Ramirez introduced herself. Their talk flowed effortlessly, touching on topics such as art, music, and their respective careers. You have likely never heard the truth regarding Daniela's illness, or at least Roberta's, since she was unaware of it. I run a network of dealerships in Mexico called Villar Autos. Feel free to talk about me. Roberta spoke with a gentle warmth rather than an air of superiority. Having anticipated more haughty and emotionally distant characters at that gathering, Daniela was taken aback by her humility. Sure thing. Her response from Daniela was quite impressive. She had heard about Mrs. Villar before. This is quite a feat. Individuals who achieve great success in business are people that I have always looked up to. The field is challenging, and its dealer network is well known worldwide. Areas across the nation, it is unfortunate that I was unable to purchase any of the exquisite vehicles offered by your network during my visit. Nevertheless, I want to do so in the future. There was no air of pretense in La Voz de Daniela, thanks to the honesty and modesty of the performers. Few more minutes passed while they conversed. Roberta's excitement and interest in the newcomer drew in other merchants, who quickly joined them. May I inquire about your loyal companion? To a middle-aged man, Roberta spoke. Noticeable curiosity in the two's interaction, which seemed intriguing from a distance, with a back and forth of grins and words that seamlessly blended with their familiar corporate environment. But Alejandro continued to evade introducing Daniela Ramirez, a new acquaintance of mine whom I met today. I must say, her insights on the current market and art are quite captivating. Her impeccable sense in design is evident from her incredibly minimalist outfit, which I can only imagine costing a pretty penny. Delicate Roberta brought Daniela into the conversation by inviting her to join the circle more actively. Dear Daniela, she adjusted gracefully to the onslaught of questions about the economy, current trends in the market, and new innovations that came her way. Despite his lack of expertise in the field, she offered her personal opinions on the matter, citing his life experiences as a simple but solid foundation. There is a lot of bigotry even in the business world. People assume the worst of everyone, but there are decent people among them, Daniela said, her self-assurance rising along with the talk and the positive impression that world still left on her. The country is important to our economy. Although it was brief, the merchants, those in his vicinity, were astounded by his profundity and his command of such weighty subjects. For someone who doesn't often engage in this type of event, or at least nothing I've ever seen like it, you really ought to be more active in our meetings. It is possible for our companies to share information with one another. Despite her initial reservations, Daniela felt even more accepted when one of them made a remark that encouraged her to be herself rather than conform to their expectations. Although Daniela participated in a number of talks, something seemed off, and she found herself lost in her own thoughts. Can you tell me where Alejandro is? He promised to attend the party, but I haven't seen him yet. Our talk is progressing smoothly, though, and he is the only one who really knows my true character. I can count on Alejandro to protect me from his trial in the event that they find out the truth and become furious. Who is Alejandro? Up until that point, he and his close associates had been confined to a secluded area within the structure. At last, he made his entrance inside the great hall. He had silently watched from a distance for the better part of the night, anticipating the others' reactions. As soon as they stepped foot in the room, the guests' gazes fell upon Daniela. Much to their annoyance, they noticed that she was encircled by a group of powerful businessmen, all of whom seemed genuinely interested in striking up conversations with her. Alejandro was taken aback to realize that, in contrast to Daniela, he was not being ignored or marginalized. To the contrary, she was being actively courted and heard as she sought to turn the tables on her adversary. Several businessmen loitering on the periphery of the members of the group started to whisper in an effort to cast suspicion on Daniela. Are you aware of the guest we invited to the party this evening? The woman reportedly has so little money that she can hardly afford to buy what she needs at the market. He stated, it's a joke, in an attempt to make them laugh, or at least pay attention to what she had to say. However, his efforts were fruitless. With a quick tip of the head, the businessmen resumed their chats, leaving Alejandro to rant to himself, irritated that he wasn't getting the anticipation of the response Alejandro had hoped for. He opted for a blunter strategy, speaking more loudly to drown out the background noise. As Alejandro proudly declared, "You are all present, captivated by an individual who does not truly belong here. The night star, Daniela Ramirez, is just an ordinary woman without a partner. Not well known in the commercial world, she has nothing to offer our group talks. She doesn't belong here." As Alejandro's comments reverberated across the room, looks of surprise and unwelcome visitors, "She lacks the proper qualifications to be here. She is an outsider in our gathering, and she has no idea what a business meeting is," he went on to say, words laced with poison meant to degrade Daniela and reinforce Alejandro's own standing. Despite the shock and humiliation she felt, Daniela kept her head held high and met Alejandro's gaze with an apparent resolve. It was evident from the tense atmosphere that Daniela was not alone, despite Alejandro's objectives. The expressions on everyone's faces, which had previously been one of curiosity, had transformed into one of solidarity and even respect, and they spoke louder than any effort to put her down. At that point, one of the businessmen, a powerful figure in the tech industry, spoke out. "This can never be tolerated." He claimed his voice betrayed his fury. "No one is here to put down anyone else, particularly." To those who obviously have a lot to contribute, the guests' dissatisfaction with the situation was expressed by growing murmurs of agreement. This is not only wrong, but it contradicts everything that this evening stands for. At that moment, Roberta Viller, whose role up until that point was that of a spectator, took the lead with her strong words and authoritative voice. The apparent disappointment on Roberta's face started. "Alejandro, what have you accomplished? Does more than just bring disrepute upon this country. It also, which betrays an irreproachable moral fiber and disregard for human dignity. An honorable businessman would never do this." Roberta gestured for silence as she raised her hand, blocking Alejandro's attempt to interject. "No, I'm not through with this room just yet." Relying on his statements, this gathering was planned to unite individuals from diverse backgrounds for the purpose of exchanging ideas and fostering connections, not to drive a wedge between them or embarrass them. In response to Roberta's effort at humiliation, Daniela stood tall and proud. Extended a hand in solidarity. After much consideration, Roberta reached a decision. "With that, Alejandro, I respectfully request that you depart from this gathering. Your presence here is no longer desired. My deepest condolences to Daniela for the treatment she has endured. It is in no way indicative of the values of the other attendees." While some visitors watched with delight, others were taken aback by Alejandro's plainly startled and defeated expression, brimming with wrath. A collective sigh greeted his leaving as he departed from the room. Feeling relieved, a sense of restored justice filled the air, and the positive energy of the conference was reignited. Daniela felt a hand on her shoulder as Roberta walked over to her. "Please don't take this as a sign of the persons involved. It was just one incident. Rest assured, Alejandro will definitely receive what he deserves after today's action. You are more than welcome to stay and join us here." Thanks to Roberta and everyone else, Daniela's eyes gleamed with emotion and gratitude. Her voice tinged with emotion as she spoke. "Your solidarity means more to me than words can convey. Though my life is very different from yours, I am grateful for the opportunity to have spent the evening here." Roberta was pleased by her new friend's response and intrigued. She wanted to learn more about the woman responsible for the recent event. "If it's all right with you, Daniela," her voice betrayed her genuine interest in learning more about you. "How did you find yourself in our company this evening?" Daniela found solace in the understanding and compassion she experienced towards his. She started by sharing her story, which I never would have guessed. As a single mother, she struggled every day to provide for her son. Then, out of nowhere, she met Alejandro, who invited her to a party with vague intentions. After her ex-husband left, she was left to handle everything on her own. A few weeks ago, she lost her job as a house cleaner and has been searching for a new one ever since. "It is why I came tonight. Alejandro had told me it would be an excellent night for it." At the end of her account of her experiences, Daniela moved everyone. Some of the audience members were moved to tears by her incredible bravery and endurance. "You still have such a positive outlook and are full of hope, which is truly inspiring," remarked the middle-aged businessman, who was visibly impressed. At that moment, Roberta, overcome with empathy and reverence for Daniela, took an impulsive choice, but one that appeared flawless at that instant. She wrote, "Daniela, your story and your strength of character have moved me deeply. Your positivity and determination deserve a chance." "I agree wholeheartedly." Roberta made the official announcement in recognition of your perseverance. "I'd like to offer you a job with our dealership, first in the sales department, with the possibility of advancement in your career. In addition, I'd like to present you with a gift automobile of your choice. If you announce the offer of the automobile and the job, history will show you that you can do anything you set your mind to." Roberta waited for Daniela to respond before turning to her. "Are you prepared to begin this new chapter with me, Daniela?" A beautiful smile that lit up the room was Daniela's response once she got over the initial shock and the tears of emotion that were on the verge of falling. "I am well prepared, Roberta. I am incredibly grateful for this remarkable chance." She spoke with conviction, signaling her rekindled resolve. The onlookers praised in recognition of Roberta's kindness and Daniela's strength. Several businessmen came up to her after the announcement to give their congratulations and support. "Daniela, my card is here in case you need anything," he continued, obviously moved by Daniela's narrative and character, by offering a business card and saying, "If you are interested in expanding your skills, we have training programs at our company that might interest you." With every chat, Daniela met new people, some of whom would become her co-workers in the future. At the conclusion of the party, as she got ready to exit the room, doors began to open to possibilities she had never considered. Roberta grinned, content with the good effect she had started, and the woman turned to her with a sense of belonging and hope in her voice as she thanked her, saying, "Tonight changed my life. I am looking forward to what the future holds, and I promise to give my best in this new position." With the group, "Dear Daniela, like you did at the party today, I have no doubt that you will have a profound impact on Vila Vehicles." With those encouraging remarks and the promise of fresh starts, everyone was overjoyed to finally meet you. Instead of leaving the party as the same person who had come in, Daniela emerged with a fresh outlook and a road paved with possibilities. After all the unexpected turns the night had given Daniela, she returned home with a buoyant spirit and a light-hearted heart. John, who had been kept up all night waiting for his mother's return, was revealed by the opening of the door to the small flat as he lay sleepily within. With an expression that conveyed both intrigue and anticipation, Mom inquired. Kneeling down to embrace him, Daniela grinned. "John, it was phenomenal, way beyond his wildest dreams." It all started when Roberta surprised him with her generosity, then gave him a new automobile, and promised him a position with room to advance. The joy on John's face grew with every syllable. "I met amazing people who have promised to help us in any way we need it, and now that I have a job, we can celebrate our days together in the right way. This is all a reflection of the change in fortune that seemed to be waiting for them." So I asked John, Hope Endo, when he was feeling sleepy but full of optimism. "Yes, my dear, things are going to get better for us," he said. Daniela said, "My little one," her optimism rekindled by the opportunities that await. Possibilities that arose for her in the future months, a symbol of the unimaginable change that had taken place in Daniela's life. Her new automobile now accompanied her on her daily commute to work. A fresh start, and the possibilities that presented themselves at her fingertips. Colleagues who became friends and mentors welcomed guests with open arms at the Viller Autos business. Roberta, who was always upbeat and supportive, kept tabs on Daniela's development and was happy to offer suggestions and chances for her to hone her abilities. "You have an innate ability for this, Daniela, and with Roberta's guidance and the team's backing, you not only thrived as a salesperson but also started to plot a hopeful course towards management. That is just astounding to me." Roberta mentioned that Daniela had suggested several ways to enhance customer service during a meeting at the day-by-day. Daniela's self-assurance grew as she solidified her position in the world and continued to expand upon her career. Destiny for her and John, a future brimming with potential and liberated from the lingering doubts that had accompanied her all along. On the other hand, Alejandro's social circle felt the effects of his actions on that pivotal celebration night, and he faced a totally different fate, and professionally, causing him to lose important business relationships as the proudly constructed company he had worked so hard to build crumbled one component at a time until he had to sell it to pay his bills. Alejandro had to start anew with what little he had left due to recent debts, being alone, and losing the prestige and money that had formerly defined his identity. In contrast to the posh party venues, he established a modest market in Modesto. Notwithstanding his preference for dominating, he was unfazed by the irony of his fresh start. After despising Daniela so much, he found himself on the opposite side of the equation now. Unfortunately, Alejandro had to learn the hard way that life has a way of doing that. Rebuilding his life, he worked tirelessly in his market, learning the importance of respect and compassion rather than being the haughty tycoon he had been. This process brought him humility and redemption. John and Daniela, who are now enjoying a more secure and hopeful relationship, frequently reflected on that night as a watershed moment in their lives. The power she found was just as important as Roberta's kindness and the prospect of a job in changing Daniela's course. She discovered inside herself that there is always a path forward, a way out of any difficult situation. John was captivated by his mother's El Progreso Daniela's journey from a nervous and overwhelmed woman to someone who could finally relax and enjoy life. With pride and love in his eyes, John told his mother, "You are strong now, John. We have been through a lot, and you have always encouraged me to be." John aspired to be strong like his mother, who was a respected and self-assured professional. "My best self, you're incredibly tough for someone your age, and I have no doubt that you'll only get stronger with time." On the other side, Daniela embraced him in response, and the two of them can conquer everything that comes our way in Alejandro's market. A simple woman, she started teaching him the importance of community and simplicity. The customers at his store became more than just that. They became friends, exchanging experiences and offering him encouragement. Gradually, he started to view life in a different light, and he learned that success is not. Wealth is defined not by material possessions, but by the depth of one's interpersonal connections. As Alejandro reflected, he realized how devoid of meaning his prior life had been, defined by consumerism and unrestrained rivalry. Or maybe this is the beginning of something new. Begin operations independently one day. After the market closed, he whispered to himself, "I need to know where to start." At that moment, a sense of calm washed over him, unlike anything he'd experienced in a while. In addition to her new role as a pivotal figure in Villar Autos, Daniela, not only financial security, but also meaning in life with a shared belief in the transformative power of positive change and a deep regard for one another, she and Roberta evolved from colleagues into close friends. With the support of genuine friends and unwavering courage, Daniela overcame obstacles and achieved legendary status in her workplace and neighborhood. Every day, as she drove to work, she relished the prospect of a fresh start, to forge a more promising future for herself and John. The narratives of Daniela and Alejandro are interwoven despite their divergent journeys, bound together by the fateful night that altered their course of existence. There would be a new age of achievement and fulfillment for Alejandro, and Daniela would see it as the start of that era. Learning the real principles of life was a challenging but essential experience. They demonstrated that there is always opportunity for development, even in the face of adversity, by starting over in their own unique ways. Optimism and salvation. How was this article for you? Subscribing and leaving a like would mean a lot to us. Your sponsorship keeps us going, releasing new videos nearly every day. The video is about to play, so please don't miss it.